further introduction, I'm a teacher too. On this Teachers' Day, we get so many messages, right? We get forward messages, we get personal messages from students, we get gifts, we get roses. But this Teachers' Day, you're going to get a little different gift. That's gift from God. I've been working as a teacher for past few years, and I usually travel by train to my workplace. While traveling early morning, my compartment is filled with teachers. And while traveling, when you hear them talk, it's pretty much not a good conversation. I'll come to the point. Whenever I've heard teachers talk, I've always heard them grumbling and complaining. It always bothers me. If you genuinely there's a issue or problem, discussing is perfectly fine. Discussing about the issue that's going around in the school is fine. But I've heard them grumbling, complaining, and gossiping about their colleagues, about management, about the school, about students. And it's not only that the previous day went bad, and that's why today they are sharing their burden to the fellow teachers. No, it's the same case scenario throughout the year, not only in the trains. After the class is over, when you go to the staff room, you are complaining about the students, or you're complaining about the class, about the management, about the stuff that you have. If you meet a teacher on the corridor, again you're complaining about everything, about the curriculum, about every topic under the sun. Don't get offended. I'm not pinpointing things. Even I'm trying to reflect on these things every day. And basically, whenever you open your mouth to complain, you are actually attracting those negative vibes to you. And with the same negative vibe, when you enter the classroom, when you see the students, you're filled with anger, and you're just entering the classroom. Your aim and goal is to complete the decided portion. But when you enter the classroom, and when you see one child not behaving, or when you just see one child talking, that is enough to trigger the thoughts that you have, trigger the negative vibes that you have, and you blast off. Maybe all the teachers don't react in the same way. There are teachers who are kind enough, there are teachers who just ignore, and there are teachers who are very strict. But this applies to all the teachers. When they are out of the class, they do end up complaining. But when you see the class in that perspective, yes, it gives you a headache, right? But when I reflected back and I thought about Jesus, okay, we are always for I want to become Christ-like in nature. I want to become like Christ. I always thought, how to become like Christ? How is that even possible? But when I reflected the verse, when you read Matthew, that's when you come to know how is it done. Usually, when Jesus walks on the road, or he's walking towards the sea or somewhere, he has always crowd following him. Yes, just like a school. Like when you're just entering the school, you have a set of colleagues, you have students. When you walk on the corridor, my God, don't ask. You have students running around, and it's like a crowd. That's kind of mind-blowing, right? Like when Jesus walks, he sees hundreds and thousands of people around him. But yet, he finds out people who are with needs. I always thought, how does when you're walking on a crowded street, you see random people, right? I always thought when Jesus walks, how does he know that person is out of need, that person needs to be cured, that person needs a word of love, that person needs compassion? That's because he had the vision. That's because he saw around with compassion. That's because he saw around with the eyes of empathy. That's because he saw around with love. So when you enter a classroom, when you see the kids, there are maybe 50, 40, 60 kids sitting right in front of you. Instead of seeing with that stubborn perspective that I want to finish my portion, I want to handle this class, I want them to be quiet, I just want this to be done, what you can do is you can look around with the eyes of compassion. Just the way Jesus looked around. And how do you know? How do you get those eyes of compassion? Whenever Jesus gets time, or he just used to withdraw from the crowd and go in solitude and pray. He always prayed. So how did I learn? While traveling, I always pray early in the morning. That God, if I'm going to school, Jesus, you help me to recognize what I need to do. Or you help me to recognize the part that needs to be worked out. If I'm traveling to school, Lord, today what I should do for you. So if you're going to the classroom, you will be prepared. There is somewhere in the corner, not all the students are on the same page. Somewhere in some corner, a student is sitting, eagerly waiting for a word of love, for a word of empathy, for a word of compassion. That, will someone look on me with love, with compassion? I was blown away when I read a word from the Bible. That's in Matthew chapter 18, verse 10. That says, "See that you do not look down on any of these little ones. For I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven." Hear it carefully. This one line, I was blown away when I read it. It says, "See that you don't look down in any one of these little ones." Usually when we enter the classroom, what happens? We tend to look down on kids. Look down as in, he's just notorious. He'll just not listen to me. He just doesn't want to listen to me. Or she is talkative. She's always talking. Or he is talking. This gang is just ignore the last bench. We kind of look down on certain areas in the classroom and we are just continuously ignoring, or we are just filled with anger just to burst out. But God says, don't look down. He is giving you a warning that don't look down on them. Don't you dare to look down on any of the little one. Just go to the classroom. When you pray, God will give you the calmness. He will give you the eyes of compassion. And when you look around, you will see students with need. Students who actually need love. Students who actually need empathy. Students who need encouragement. Right? So basically, when you have to pray about it, that's when it will be effective. Your day will be effective as a teacher. And for the fact, in my BA training, I've learned one thing. If you want to criticize a student, do it in private. And if you want to praise a student, do it in front of the entire class. Even if you're criticizing about something, and even if one student is around, please don't criticize. Look at that child with compassion. See the root cause. If he needs love, give him some love. If he needs some encouragement, give it some encouragement. God will help you to look at a child with those eyes of compassion. So this Teacher's Day, next time when you enter the class, please pray and prepare. And when you enter the classroom, look around with compassion and empathy. And even if you make a difference in a child's life, it's gonna be a very big difference in God's kingdom. Have a great day.